Okay, I wanted to just sit down and talk a little bit about Lucid. So Lucid is a new prop firm that I am now affiliated with. They're a brand new prop firm in the space, but there is a lot of things I like about them, hence why I'm affiliated with them. And very recently, they have just added a brand new type of account, as well as updated a couple things about the other existing types of accounts they offer. So we're going to run through it all. I'm going to tell you all the pros and cons and what accounts that I would be looking to trade if I was putting my money into Lucid. So to starting off, just some unique things about Lucid that we'll cover before I get into the specific actual accounts, is that Lucid are a one-time fee prop firm. So with Lucid, you're going to pay no activation fee, and you're only going to pay one upfront fee for any given eval, and that is all you'll pay. So no monthly recurring costs and no activation fee. And in their Discord, they're often doing town hall meets, which is basically just a kind of Q&A with the CEO of Lucid, just talking through any issues you might have, any questions you might have. So yeah, there are a couple really unique things about this firm that seem to be very open and very honest, and here to help and hopefully here to stay. So let's start breaking down what they actually offer. First, we're going to cover the Lucid Pro accounts. This is the account that I probably wouldn't be leaning so much towards. It is a very solid account, but you'll see why when we get onto Lucid Flex. That is probably going to be your preferred account to go for. The Lucid Pro account is actually what they class as their flagship offer, so obviously they think that this is their best offer. It's got pretty standard rules for a 50k account: profit target of 3k, max loss of 2k, end of day drawdown, which again, if you know this channel, we love end of day drawdown, a daily loss limit of $1,200, and then a max size of 4 minis or 40 micros. And again, like we said, no activation fee, and you can pass in as little as 1 day. Now, if we click onto the funded rules, you can see that this is where the Lucid Pro, in my opinion, takes a little bit of a turn for the worst in the comparison to the Lucid Flex. We still have a max loss limit of $2,000, still got a daily loss limit of $1,200, and then we have something unique to Lucid, which is called the Lucid Scale daily loss limit. This only applies to you once you're above the initial trail. So once your account balance reaches, for a 50k account, $52,100, this Lucid Scale daily loss limit will replace your normal daily loss limit of $1,200. So this is a little bit confusing at first, but it's simple once you understand it. Once you get above the initial trail, your daily loss limit will cease to be $1,200 and will instead be 60% of the peak end of day balance. So this is actually rewarding you for building a buffer on that account. It's going to give you more breathing room once you are above $52,100 for a 50k account. So just to give you an example of the Lucid Scale daily loss limit, once you get above the trail, so once you get to an account balance of $52,100, whatever your highest account balance is from that point, do 60% of that, and that is your new daily loss limit. So in this example, if you build an account balance of $52,500, your daily loss limit, thanks to Lucid Scale, will no longer be $1,200, it will instead be $1,500. Hope that makes sense. And then we have a 40% consistency rule, so the best trade you have on the account can't be more than 40% of the total account balance. And then same sizing as the evaluation phase, and you need a minimum 5 days of $100 of profit and minimum 5 days to pay out. And then you can also see at the bottom here that once you have 6 payouts on this account, then you will be moved to a live account. Now let's move on to the more exciting account, which is the Lucid Flex. In my opinion, this is the more exciting account. You can see that this account is cheaper, sitting in $84.50, and that's if you're using a discount code, by the way, so code KAICAP to get this price. Otherwise you'll be paying $130. So Lucid Flex off the bat is a one-time payment that is cheaper than the Lucid Pro, which came in at $104 if you use a discount code. $160 if you don't. And if that feels expensive, you just kind of have to remember that it is a one-time payment. So if you pay this one-time fee and it still takes you 3 months to pass the account, you're only going to pay $84.50. You're not going to keep recurring that fee every month like you would with other firms. This is why I recommend Lucid to anyone that is trying to trade an account nice and slow, not trying to rush to the funded stage at the risk of blowing the account, because if that's your approach, then you're actually more suited to something like funding ticks. Let's highlight the difference in the Lucid Flex account to the Lucid Pro. So on the Lucid Flex account, we have all the same profit target, the same max loss limit, the same drawdown, but on this account, we have no daily loss limit. So that is, I guess, a pro because it's giving you more freedom, but at the same time, it's going to mean that you're going to have to be disciplined in yourself to stop yourself from just trading and trading and trading on red days and just bleeding the account. Then we do have a consistency rule on the eval for the Lucid Flex. This is an important difference to Lucid Pro. Lucid Pro, we had no consistency rule on the eval, but we did have one on the funded. Lucid Flex is the opposite. You have a 50% consistency rule on the eval, so it's better than the 40% on Lucid Pro, and you'll see in a minute that once we move to the funded on the Lucid Flex, you don't have to pay a consistency rule, which I think is great because when you're in the funded stage, a consistency rule can just become a bit of a ball ache. And then same sizing, and you can see at the bottom here, no consistency in funded, like we were about to say. And then once you're in the funded stage, you can see that you have very, very little rules you actually need to follow. You obviously have your max loss limit of $2,000, you have no daily loss limit, no consistency rule. You do have the same minimum days of profit and days to pay out, but you do need to make a little bit more. You need to make $150 on each of those 5 days as opposed to $100 on the Lucid Pro. And then you also have a scaling plan at the bottom here. So this is just to make sure that you're not just going to burst out the gate and max size it. Since there's no consistency rule, you're going to need to scale up a little bit. But as long as you're aware of it, it won't trip you up. Now, I should also mention that Lucid are partnered with Tradeovate Prop, which means that if you use Lucid, like I have done, and then you go to Tradeovate Prop as their platform, you will be given Order Flow Plus on Tradeovate Prop with your account. So that is a very, very nice bonus because otherwise you'd have to pay for that. And personally, I've been using the tools that Order Flow Plus on Tradeovate offers. The main one that I've been using is the CVD, the Cumulative Volume Delta. And if I wasn't using this Lucid account with Tradeovate Prop, then I would have to pay for a CVD because the one that TradingView has isn't reliable. So now that we've covered the actual accounts, at least the ones that I would use, they do offer an instant funded account called Lucid Direct, which you can look into yourself if that's something that intrigues you. I just kind of focus on eval accounts at the minute, so I'm not going to cover that. But on the FAQs, there is a couple of important things to note in here. And the first one I'm going to start off with is the inactivity policy. So you are not required to trade daily or weekly, but accounts must remain active to avoid being flagged. We must remove dormant accounts to ensure trading performance and data integrity. Accounts are flagged after 20 days of no trading activity. And just as a nice benefit, they will reach out twice via email before they actually deactivate the account. So if you don't place a trade within 20 days, you'll receive a first email, and then on day 25, another email, and then 10 days later after the initial email, you will lose the account. So just something to be aware of. I mean, I don't think many people are going to go 20 to 30 days without entering a single trade, but something to keep in the back of your mind. Maybe if you're going to go and trade another account because you're like, oh, it's a one-time fee, I don't need to bother with that. Just remember that you do need to be active on this account at least once a month. And just some prohibited guidelines: you're not able to micro scalp with Lucid, you're not able to hedge, and you're not able to high frequency trade. Very, very common in the prop firm world. And then a nice bonus, if you're wanting to trade the news, then you are allowed to trade the news without restriction. Obviously, it still warns you that news markets are highly volatile, so it doesn't exactly recommend it, and it will involve slippage due to sudden price movements. But if you want to trade news, if you want to gamble an account, then I'm not condoning it, but you're able to. And then you are actually also able to dollar cost average into your position. This is something a lot of firms have actually been against. It's basically where you scale into a trade, even though it's in the negative, to bring your average position down so you don't end up losing as much. And then it does mention caution: while it's permitted, continuously adding to losing positions in hopes of recovery is strongly discouraged. Scalping is allowed, so that's perfect for me as I'm now mainly a scalper. And then flipping is allowed, which is great. I have props to Lucid for allowing flipping, and especially telling you that they allow it. This is essentially where you just flip a micro, you enter into a trade and then exit straight out for the purpose of meeting minimum day requirements. Any of the circumstances that we've been over where you need to maybe have a certain number of trading days, you can just flip a micro. Weird that they require minimum trading days but also allow flipping is kind of backwards, if I'm being honest though. Surely just get rid of the minimum trading days so people don't need to flip, but I don't know, that's just my opinion. Moving on to maximum number of accounts. Traders may hold a maximum of 10 accounts in total across evaluation accounts and funded accounts. So for example, if you have 5 evaluation accounts, you are only able to hold 5 funded accounts, and you are only allowed up to 5 funded accounts, but you can keep 5 evaluation accounts in reserve while you have 5 funded accounts. So you're only able to have 5 actual funded accounts at any given time, but you can have 10 total accounts. So as well as those 5 funded accounts, you can also have 5 evaluation accounts. Now onto the exciting part, the payouts. We're going to just talk about the Lucid Flex payouts because this is the one that honestly I'm going to recommend to you in this video. You can go and look at the Lucid Pro payouts if you're interested in the Lucid Pro account, but Lucid Flex payouts is where Lucid shines, so I want to kind of highlight this. To be eligible for a payout from Lucid Flex, you must not violate any of the trading rules, terms and conditions, blah 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 blah. Payouts are final once submitted, they cannot be edited or cancelled. And then all Lucid Flex funded account payouts are 90-10 profit split, so 90% goes to you, 10% go to Lucid. There are only 2 requirements to be met for a Lucid Flex payout. Requirement number 1 is you need at least 5 separate trading days where you profit more than $150 for a 50k account. and then you can see the other daily profit targets for those 5 days, depending on which account size you're using. And then requirement 2, traders must have a positive net profit, even if it's just $1, during each payout cycle in order to request a payout. The objective simply ensures traders have made at least some amount of money between requests. As long as you meet the trading days with profit requirement and have positive net profit for the payout cycle, you are eligible for a payout. So very, very upfront, easy to understand payout rules for the Lucid Flex account. This is why I'm going to recommend it. Now, the payout minimums and the payout maximums, the minimum payout request is $500 no matter the account, and then the maximum payout request is 50% of the account balance. So if you have made $2,000 on a 50k account, you can only request up to $1,000. And then like we said before, once you've taken 6 payouts, you will be moved to live, so be aware of that. And there is no buffer balance requirement that needs to be maintained for a Lucid Flex account. This is different to the Lucid Pro account. The Lucid Pro account requires that you build a buffer. Lucid Flex does not. So what that means is on a Lucid Flex, you could take a payout as early as $1,000. You would be able to take a $500 payout, which would be 90% to you, so you would make $450 out of that 1,000. But you need to be aware that while there is no buffer requirement, the max loss limit, once you take a payout, similar to a lot of firms, will shoot up to $100 into profit. The max loss limit on the account will go from whatever it initially was on a 50k account, that's $2,000 max loss limit, and it will shoot up to $0 or $100 into profit of the account. So you need to be aware of that if you're going to take a payout early. While you will still make money on the account, you need to be aware that that max loss limit is going to shoot up, so your wiggle room for that remaining account balance, which is left, is going to be pretty low. But at the same time, you've paid yourself early, so you're not actually losing money, but you are more likely to blow that account then. And then an important note for the payouts is that once you request a payout, you probably shouldn't be entering any trades until that payout is processed, because that could mess up your account balance and drop you below the requirement for the payout, meaning your payout would get denied. And the final nice thing about Lucid's payouts is there is no fixed payout window like there is with many other prop firms. You may request a payout any day after meeting all the eligibility criteria. Once approved, funds will be deducted from your account within a few minutes. Payouts will be disturbed to your payment method within 2 business days. So just remember that. The funds have been deducted from your account within a few minutes, but if you've not received the payout, then you probably shouldn't trade until it's fully processed through to your account, just to save you from getting a random payout denial. So there you go. That's all I have to say about Lucid. They are a very, very solid firm. They are brand new, but it seems like they are here to do a lot of good, and it is definitely worthwhile if you are the type of trader who is wanting to take a bit of a slower approach to the eval. Then I would absolutely recommend Lucid. As I said before, code KAICAP, KAICAP, will get you the best discount available at whatever time you are purchasing the account. But yeah, that's all I have for you. If you have any questions, feel free to comment them down below, and I will wish you good luck, good trading. Catch you later, boys.